Welcome to episode 5 of the Lights at Full podcast. My name is Brian Smith. With me, as always, out of Ohio is Brent Schmidt. And today we have a second special guest coming to us from Ohio. Longtime friend of both of ours. We've both worked with him on events across the country. A awesome dude. If you don't know him already, Loren Miller. We're super excited to have him on the podcast with us today.
What's up, Loren?
Hey, gentlemen. What's up? Lights at Full. Let's go.
So one of the things that we're excited about is, like I said in our intro, we've known Loren for a long time. Loren is going to be, excuse the lighting pun, a fixture on this podcast. So you will be seeing a lot of him. So today we're going to kind of talk to Loren a little bit about his background, where he comes from. And he also had a really cool event this past weekend. And we're going to hear a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah. Cool. So I am Loren from Ohio. My lighting company is called the Luminary Co. And I think I bring a unique aspect to the lighting game, if you will. My background is in film and television and production. So, I'm a musician, a DJ, and, I started on set as like a sound guy, location sound guy, which is a ton of fun. Loved it, except holding that boom over your head, like your arms get pretty tired. That does suck. And then, just kind of moved from there, started as like a grip, as an electric, and then found myself as like pulling focus at, AC1, and then like just fell in love with lighting. It is just so fun and so integral to the video scene. And so we would be like, my favorite two shots are like the talking head, just making that, one person and that room just look amazing. And the second thing is I would do a lot of work for hospitals, and the emergency room, operating room, cutscene is just so fun to light. You just get to, it's kind of like my own little John Wick moment. I get to have so much fun in there. Absolutely love it. And I remember I was DJing at a wedding, and I saw this amazing centerpiece. And the centerpiece next to it looked great because it happened to be underneath a light, but the next table over, the centerpiece was just completely in a shadow, and it was like literally night and day. And they cost the same, they're $1,000 a pop. But this one centerpiece looked like 10 grand, and this other centerpiece, you might not even see it because it was in a shadow. And I was like, I can fix this on set. If my lights are in the shot, like, I'm fired. And same thing for the high-end luxury weddings. Like, they don't really want to see trussing. They don't want to see all these fixtures everywhere. They want to see the $100,000 worth of florals and, set pieces and furniture and all the little artistic nooks and crannies that they've designed for a year and a half. They want to see those just look amazing. So I really kind of take that film set approach to my events. Now, on a film set, I am solely worried about the camera sensor. If you were to like take a BTS of like a film set, it would look wildly different than the final product looks, even before like color grading and all that. It would look wildly different because we're only lighting for the sensor. And at like these high-end weddings, I have to draw the line because I am lighting for the content, for the camera, for the videographer, but I'm also lighting for this sensor too. And so if I was just lighting for the eye, it would look completely different. And if I was just lighting for the camera, it would look completely different. So I have to kind of split this line between the two so that it looks great in person, but it looks really, really good on camera too. And I've developed some really good tricks over the years, a lot of trial and error. I've got some opinions. I'm looking forward to letting you guys know my opinions. I'm sure you're excited to hear those. And yeah, so that's kind of my background, kind of what I bring. I think there's like there's a couple ways people light. There's and it's kind of represented here. Like there's the concert venue lighting technique, and that's great. And then there's, like the film set studio lighting technique. That's great. And I think like by bringing our heads together, we can really kind of push this industry into, the next level by exploiting the best parts of each discipline, if you will.
That's a lot of great insight, Lauren. And, it's so interesting to hear that kind of commentary about lighting from DJs and in the DJ world. And like, because you don't hear it. And I think that's a lot of what we realize and what we're trying to do to try to shift the dynamics in our world. A lot of what you do is kind of the subtle nature of it, which is almost the opposite of what a lot of clients ask for or are used to or people are used to seeing. How do you sell that to someone that like is looking for this big statement in the way the room looks?
That is the $1,000,000 question. It's so hard. And let me give an analogy that I think maybe more of our listeners will connect with. It's the same question as, well, why shouldn't I just put on a playlist at the wedding? Right? Because it's all music, it's all lighting, and a lot of people are like, well, my venue has lighting. It's got lights in the ceiling. Why do I need to spend $10,000 on more lighting? And so that's clearly an educational problem. We have not done a good job of educating our clients about what good lighting is, what good lighting isn't. And so that's really kind of been a years long, struggle. Um, even in my own market, I do more lighting gigs outside of Ohio than I do inside of Ohio. Like really just focusing on educating and letting my local planners see what I can do because they've never really experienced it. So it's starting to catch on now. We're doing more and more lighting gigs inside Ohio, which is great because I love to sleep in my own bed. It's really nice. And so that, I don't know if I can give you a good answer other than I'm trying. I've just spent an ungodly amount of money on a video that hopefully we can drop here shortly so you guys can see it. But it's one of those things where like you have to experience it. And I think when you can experience it, when you've seen the difference, you become an instant convert.
That's great. I think one of the things that I often have like conversations with my clients about is put yourself in a moment, like a moment that stands out to you in time and like visualize it. And one of the first things that people will always come to is they'll be able to tell you what the lighting was like. They'll be able to tell you what, like, it was sunset and it was just felt so nice or, something like that. Like you hear those descriptors in like big moments from people all the time. And I know that's something that I always use with people. Like, like you don't think about it in the moment, but you remember it after the moment. And I think that is a lot of it. Even going down to you've seen a DJ or a band play with not a lot of lighting, or you've been to like a big concert and like it is a very different feeling. It is a very different experience. And that's definitely something that I use to point to it, although we definitely do a little bit different styles when it comes to the way we do our lighting, but which is good because variety is the spice of life.
Exactly. And another trick that I've used is like in my DJ business, I'm very lucky in that 95% of my business comes from referrals, venues, past clients, other vendors. And, one of the things that I want to do as a DJ is I want to bring so much value to the other vendors that they like love working with me because I'm making their life easier and better and I'm making their product better. And so I kind of use that in my lighting aspect as well. Like on the day of, I am the gaffer for the photographer and the videographer. I bring lights for them. I'm I'm their light boy. I'm making whatever adjustments they need, going out of my way above and beyond to make their image better. It's to me it's common sense. One, we're gonna create a better product for our clients. We're gonna have a happier client, which is gonna lead to more business. And then at the end of the day, I'm gonna have some photographers and videographers that can't shut up about me. That say like, "Hey, you gotta hire Lauren. Like That is one of my secret marketing strategies.
And it's a killer one. Loren and I worked together on an event in Florida. It was about 2 years ago, I think. He brought me down to work with him because, like I said, variety's the spice of life, and we both had different elements that we did really, really well that we needed on this one event. And that was one of my biggest takeaways, is the way he approached lighting and thinking about the photographers and the videographers. And now that is something that I have built into my own approach when I'm working on my events because of that. Something as simple as, I think we talked about them on our one of our last episodes, of a pin spot, and knowing how to use it and use it as something that helps your photographer. I'm literally getting referrals from photographers because of that. So even if I don't necessarily sell pin spots for one of my clients, like, I still have some with me because, like, it's like the Swiss Army knife. Like, we need some extra light somewhere. Let me grab one of those, pop it up, and good to go. Even just something as simple as, like, talking to them about the color temperature. Like, I know what the color temperature of those lights are. And if I can tell them, they, like, kind of give you a double take sometimes, but, like, in the best way.
Yes. And you just hit on another, like, super important aspect of what I do is I'll have a meeting with all of the content people beforehand, and we will talk color temperature, and we will talk how the color temperature is going to change. Because here's something a lot of people don't realize as well. When you dim house lights, their color temperature changes. It usually gets warmer. So I'll have a meter with me, and I will measure the color temperature, like beforehand, like, all right, full blast, these lights are 4,600. When we dim them to 25%, they are now at 3,800, which doesn't sound like a lot, but keeping that shot consistent from the beginning of the night to the end of the night, like, that can really make a huge difference for our video and photography friends.
I haven't said anything because, like, I am still here just learning from Loren because, like, I know a lot from, and I've been learning a lot from Loren, but y'all, like, this is, like, Loren knows what's up, and just keep it coming, Loren. Like, you are just,
Sure.
my gosh, I'm just sitting back, just pull up my recliner, just like keep talking.
You need to call my wife. Just let her know as well.
Right.
Let her know that you actually are good at your job and know what you're talking about, and this isn't just some weird thing that you do to get out of the house. I think we've all had that conversation, or needed to have that conversation at some point. Oh, you're going to another bougie party. Like, yeah, but it's work.
It is.
Definitely.
So, this is one thing that I think is really interesting with what you do, is that you are very small footprint. So lighting companies, they're showing up with a big truck and a crew, and you're in the exact opposite direction. Why did you go that way?
Yeah, great question. A couple reasons why. I don't have a warehouse. No. So kind of pointing to what I said at the beginning, like, my approach to lighting is that the fixture it kind of disappears unless you know where to look. Like, I don't want you to see it. So there's that aspect of, so at the luxury event, like, I was just at the Ritz-Carlton. I'm sure we'll talk about it. Like, to stay at the Ritz-Carlton was $1,600 there. I stayed at the Holiday Inn. It was like a Ferrari dealership outside that hotel, like more Ferraris and McLarens and Rolls Royces than I've ever seen in my life. So at that wedding, like, they didn't really want to see, a box truss over the dance floor with scanners and 4-foot tall clay packies. That wasn't in the aesthetic, but they still wanted those results, or as close to those results as possible. So one of the reasons why my gear is so small is because it needs to be small visually, but it also has to perform really well, which sucks because that means it's going to be expensive. And that sucks. And secondly, like, I really like, so Encore at a hotel, they're at all the hotels, and I'm hopefully you can read my mind about what I think about Encore. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm not going to say it out loud, but they are very, very expensive. And there's a reason they're expensive. There is 10 guys at any given show, whether that's for 20 uplights, there's still going to be 10 guys there. So their staffing is through the roof. upper management, their costs are through the roof. So they, in order to turn a profit, they have to charge so much money. They're trucking lights between their different properties. So there's so much overhead going on. So if I can keep my overhead low, so I bossed that event all by myself. I busted my butt, and it was exhausting. But like I didn't have anyone with me. I don't have a semi truck, so I can take those savings. So I'm just guessing here, but like if Encore did what I did this weekend, it would have probably been 50 grand plus. And I can come in at a very small percentage of that, still make what I need to make and make my client happy and perform at that high level, but not have all of that overhead. So it's a couple of reasons. It's part of my ethos, how I light. It's part of my business plan, how I move. Because a lot of my gigs, I fly in. And so I can't fly in with big old, 4-foot tall clay packing movers. I pack everything in rifle cases, and people think I'm going on safari. And they're like, "Oh, wow, what are you gonna shoot Bambi this weekend?" I'm like, "Well, I am gonna slay, but there's not gonna be any animals involved." So yes, it's kind of like a twofold thing. And I left you
See the
speechless.
cogs turning.
So Lauren, for like for these small or travel events, like what is your fixture inventory that you're taking with you? Either from this past weekend, which we'll touch base here in a second, but like what's in the toolkit that's
Yeah,
going out?
so generally, and it really kind of depends on the size of the wedding. Obviously,
Mhm.
with a 300-person wedding, I've got to bring a lot more lights than with 100. Usually, my events are in that 150-person range, which is kind of like my sweet spot. What I love to work in. So my basic kit is 40 fuel spots, and then I'll bring about 12 Astera AX1s. And I love the Astera Pixel Bricks and the Astera like Light Pucks, or the AX3s, I think they are.
Threes. Yeah.
And if I can find them locally, here's a controversial take for you. The best uplight is the Astera AX5, bar none.
I,
And what I can do with those is pretty amazing.
They
I think the
are
technology,
incredible. Yeah.
yes, and the technology behind them, just from you could see everything on the app, you can control everything from the app, but also too like the anti-thefts. Again, that's a small little feature that no one really doesn't think about, but just everything involved in those Asteras. Yes, they are very pricey to buy, but again, like what we talked about from episode 2 and episode 4, you get what you pay for, and you got to invest if you want to play with the big boys.
Yeah, so here's a hot take for you. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Rick Webb just did his speaker shootout.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys see that at all? And
Did not, but I saw that.
okay, go watch it. It's interesting. And for those of you that don't know, Rick Webb is a dealer for Both Lighting, which is a Chinese brand in America. And in last place was the Exotin speaker. And you guys have heard of this speaker? It is
Oh, I heard it live.
you've heard it live. It is the $500, you know, Evox 12, or it's taking the DJ world by storm because of its price point. And it came in second to last place, right behind like some battery powered Mackie system or something. As it should. But here's the thing, and that Rick doesn't realize. And I love the dude, and I wish him nothing but the best. But he is the Exotin of lighting. Both lights are the Exotin of lighting.
Yeah. Yeah. Lauren, you took Brian out of the shot. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. And this points to the educational deficiency, of the educational just vault in our industry. It was very easy for him, and his guys to see the difference between the quality of speakers in that shootout. It was a glaring difference. Rick, it was kind of a bonehead business move, bro. You should have blown that Exotin up, and then you could have been a dealer for Exotin and sold the lighting and the speakers. That was the move. But here's the thing: the both lighting, that the Chinese uplights are the cheap version. They are the Exotin speaker of the lighting world. That's not wrong in and of itself. It is just a different segment. There is the Harbor Freight tool set, and then there is the Milwaukee tool set, right? There is the Kia car knockoff of the Land Rover, and then there's the Land Rover, right? There's nothing wrong per se of those. They are just different tools, different price points. But it is funny to see someone kind of walk all over the Exotin and in the next breath sell it. And that just kind of shows you the lack of education in the lighting industry. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And this
All the
is
tools will work, but you got to
Exactly.
know what tools you're working with and
Yeah.
know what they can and cannot do.
The Exotin still plays music, right?
Right.
And for 90% of the people at our weddings, they probably wouldn't even know the difference.
Exactly. And this is why we created the podcast, because we want to help educate, and all three of us here, the wealth of knowledge that we're trying to bring to the industry is hands down the best. And just
And and no shade to Rick. Rick, I love you, man. Like, you're a
Right.
great dude. I love what you're doing.
Right.
Incredible businessman. But use this as an opportunity. Like, how can we increase the quality of the diodes of those lights? How can
Right.
we increase the battery chemistry of those lights? How can we increase the better wireless connectivity of those lights?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got something,
Yeah. Make it a competitor to the name brands, like run for their money. Like, come on.
Yes. And we can do that.
100%.
Wow, that was its own episode in and of itself.
That's hilarious.
So
I don't know, Brian, I would love to, from our group chat from this weekend, I would love to kind of go through that if you're down, Loren, to kind of give us, because you kind of gave us we're taking the group chat to now the podcast, a little bit of quickly behind the scenes of what happened, and then the end results of what took place. And funny enough, before you jumped on, Brian and I were talking about how really cool how the results came out to be, because it actually kind of shocked me on how well it kind of everything came together in a coherent circle. I was like, wow, Loren, huge applause for that.
Thank you.
So, but anywho, give us the lay of the land. Let's take the group chat into this podcast episode of what happened.
Yeah, so that's 99% of what we do is just taking the circumstances of the gig and making them work. They're always different. The universe is going to throw a wrench in there somewhere, and you've got to be able to adapt. So, been working on this gig for a year now. Let's just call it a year. Working with a great planner in Florida at the Ritz, and originally, quoted them, sent the proposal. And so they wanted, just my standard package, which is, kind of uplights and some tubes, make it look beautiful. And then about a couple months ago, she's like, "Wow, bride really wants, 6 spark machines." I'm like, Okay, I can probably find those locally." Then she really wants moving headlights. I'm like, Okay. I'm not a huge moving head fan light. That's just me. I'll go into my rant later to keep the story going. So I'm like, oh, all right, I can maybe source those locally. Turns out it was spring break week and everyone else had a big show on the beach. And so the price that I was quoted was not going to make my gig profitable. So I had to drive to Florida. And it was a long drive, but it was great. It was beautiful. Got to, listen to some great music on the way down. And so I get there and this is an Encore property. And I'm like, all right, I'm bracing myself to work with Encore. And I got to say, I hope that the Ritz Carlton Encore guys hear this. They were a delight to work with. Oh my goodness, this was the best Encore crew I have ever worked with in my life. So huge hats off to them. Like so impressed. They were actually like pros. Like they knew what they were doing. The rigging guys there were just blowing me away with their safety, how they paid attention to safety, which you don't really see at many other Encores. And then like the house lighting guy, like he knew what he was doing, which was amazing. So hats off to them. Great job. I hope to get to work with you guys again. But they own the ceiling there. I was not allowed to touch the ceiling. So I was like, okay. And they're like, well, we actually sold the uplights to the bride as well. I'm like, okay. And I saw the pile of uplights that they had, and it was the old Chauvet, kind of white. You know what I'm talking about. Maybe you can put a picture of it on screen. Bingo.
I knew I had one around here somewhere.
Bingo.
I saw
Thank
the
you for
picture, so I
bringing
knew.
props.
Yes. Props. Here we go.
And I knew that those weren't a warm white. And so we turned them on, and they were not warm. They were like, I'd say 8K, somewhere. They're close to 10K maybe. They are Antarctic cold with a tiny little spread of harsh fall off and a hot spot the size of a 12-inch pizza in the middle. And like that's the minutia that I work in. And so they also had these amazing chandeliers from Signature Chandelier, like 50 grand worth of chandeliers. They had to custom make this like 10-foot tall chandelier. And so these chandeliers were a warm white. They looked gorgeous. And then they had candles on all the tables. Candles are 2,700 Kelvin. And I'm like, at first I'm like, all right, this gig is going to suck. Like I'm never going to be able to show pictures of this. I'm going to hide my head in shame. But I'm like, all right, I can make this work. I can make this work. And so what I had to do is I had to incorporate that bright white into the rest of my design. So all of the uplights, oh yeah, that was another thing. They wanted like 50 uplights. I normally don't use uplights. So we had a ton of uplights, and I'm like, all right, we're going bright white on the uplights. And then all of my tubes were bright white. So I kind of had to meld this design of warm and cold, and it kind of interspersed them. I was directing them as they were up there, like, hey, where to light the tables and stuff. And I think it came to, like you said, Brent, it came together a lot better than I hoped, dreamed, or thought it could. And the client was ecstatic. The planner was ecstatic. I was ecstatic. So yeah, it really worked well together.
Sorry, I didn't have a follow-up question.
I'm actually just rewatching the video that you sent us just to like get a full scope picture of it. And like, yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah, maybe you can throw that up there in post for everyone to see.
I have a comment on it because I remember now that I'm looking at it myself as well. So I'm gonna give me a second.
So did you have any of your pin spots, your fuels on site? And what were they highlighting in this video?
They were not being used. Okay. So here's another tip. Just because you have the lights at the gig does not mean you have to use them.
Clip it, send it. Yes, everyone. Just because it's on the bill sometimes.
Exactly.
And let me, just to go quickly off topic for a hot second. Loren, when you're pricing your services out, you're not saying, oh, you're going to get 25 pin spots and, 12 uplights. You're quoting out pretty much like a design, like creative lighting design, not you're going to get an itemized list of these things. You're saying, this is your vision. We're going to make that vision, and this is what it's going to potentially look like and cost. Correct? Okay.
Correct. But for the specialty things, like, there was 6 spark machines were on that quote, like 4 moving headlights were on that quote. For like the specialty stuff, I will like line item them, but like they're not going to know that, I have 52 uplights. It's just like a if if the guest count is like over 150, then I'm going to charge more because I'm going to have to bring more lights. But I
Right.
really kind of price on the guest count versus like how many lights I'm going to bring because they don't know how many pin spots they need, you
Right.
know.
100%. 100%. I agree with you.
And sometimes
And I'm
you don't know how many pin spots you need until you're there.
Oh, it's no, I have no idea how many pin spots I need. And also too, like using your lights efficiently is so important. Encore used 52 pin spots on that ceiling to light that room. If I were to do it, I could have lit it in 24 pin spots.
That's
We've
nuts.
talked
That's
about
nuts.
we've talked about some of the tricks that you can use in our uplighting episode, and this is what for me, I use OptiSculpt. There's other tools out there, but like that is something that you can use to like make your light go further than it can in its natural normal state, which I think is such an underrated thing. And I know that like I want people to use this stuff, but like I will tell people about this stuff. I will tell them. I will tell them. I will tell them, and they're still not using it. Like this is like one of those like super awesome hacks that if you just do it, it's going to change the game for you.
Yeah. So when you buy a pack of lights, usually it comes with filters, it comes with gels, it comes with some clampy, clippy things. And people usually just throw those away, but they don't realize that those are almost more important than the light itself. And when you can realize that, you have made it to the next level of lighting.
I
It's
love
kind
it.
of
I
like
love it.
in the photography world, they're like, it's not the camera, it's the lens, right? Like it's the same idea. It's like sometimes it's the tools that are associated with what you think is the tool are actually what make the big difference.
Correct. Makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So for me, I rarely use a light bare, if you will. I'm always modifying, um, and that's the trick. People think what I do is just about the fixture. I could hand someone my same fixture, and they would not know how to light the room. Knowing how to modify the light is the real secret in what I do, and it took me years on set, years in the ballroom to really. I'm still not. I haven't mastered it. I just have a bit of control over it now, but there's still a lot more to learn.
Um, One of the other things I think I wanted to point out that I really liked was part of like kind of like the design aesthetic. Like obviously you had some of the challenges working with Encore, working with the 10,000 degree Antarctic cold lights. But I think one of the things in the video that is really cool, and it's something that I sometimes try to think about in my own designs and setups, is how the outside of the room had the cool light, but the inside where the action was actually happening between, the insanely expensive chandelier, the candles and everything like that was warm. Like it's a way to like bring the eye into it because the eye is going to look for the warmth. It's not going to look for the cold. It's going to look for the warmth. So during dancing, like for me, like programming my dancing looks where I have uplights and dance floor lights, like a lot of the times my uplights will be colder colors. They'll be blues. They'll be, things like that because I want to direct the attention into the dance floor and I'll use the warmer colors on the dance floor. So even in something super aesthetic like that wedding was, like that's still like something that works really well to draw people's eyes and then hopefully draw them physically into the space where you want them to be.
Exactly, and and along those lines, like the eye goes towards the brightest part of the room. And DJs, like, listen up. If the brightest part of the room is the walls, no one wants, no one paid money for the walls of your venue, right? That was not the draw that the client booked that venue because these walls in the back of the room look amazing. You got to be thinking, like you said, Brian, like how do we draw the eye? How do we create this I'm telling this story with lighting. How do I highlight the design aspects of this room? How do I bring people as they walk in? So like a great question to ask when you're at your next wedding is talk to the photographer and say, hey, where are you going to shoot this room from? What angle are you going to, where are you going to stand to get like the main shots? Where's the home run shot? Where's the money shot? and they're going to be like, I think I'm going to be over here. And so that's going to really inform you as to how you need to light the room. Like, what side you need a pin spot from? Where should I put, you know, my uplights, or how should I light the dance floor so I'm, giving the photographer some backlight, some fill light, some kick light. Um, knowing the shot really informs how I light the room.
Awesome. I love that. Before we wrap today's episode, Loren, I want to ask you one last question. And it's kind of figuring out like what's your dream venue or events that like what type of events or venue that you haven't done yet that you really want to?
Uh, I I don't know if I want to put
Because you
this out in
could
the Yeah, I've done
because you've
some
been all
amazing
over.
things. I'm very, very lucky. I'm still going. Twofold. I want my local market to grab a hold of this. I really wish that. Couple reasons. Selfishly, like I said, I want to sleep in my own bed. But 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 for the betterment of the industry, like, I can really elevate an event. And I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but I think the bang for the buck with lighting, because I can take a cheaper floral budget and make it look just gorgeous. I can take an expensive floral budget and make it look unbelievable. So I can take people's events and really bring it to that next level. So that's what I wish for my local market. And I would love the challenge of doing a party like on a yacht or a boat. I think that would be fun.
Ooh,
All
yeah.
right. Getting yachty.
Yeah. I love that. And there's a lot of challenges with that too, because like, are we talking like during the day? Are we talking about suns, like dusk
Yeah,
type? Like
that's
what it is?
that's a lot of variables. A lot of variables.
So yeah, I love it.
I think we're going to wrap today. I mean, we obviously have so much we can talk about with Loren, and we're going to do that. But before we wrap up, Loren, where do people find you on the interwebs? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, well, I would love to interact with you guys on the web. I suck at Instagram. Like, I'm not very good at it. But you can find a small portion of my work at the.luminary.co on Instagram. Maybe you guys can throw that in the show notes somewhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Would
Yes,
love
sir.
to.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to the next episode.
Absolutely. Thanks, Loren, for coming on today's episode. And you can find us everywhere on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And if you haven't been following us, subscribe and follow us. That wraps today's episode, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Later.